Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Dr. Jeff Burdett from the First Baptist Church. It never fails that when everything's kind of going awry, I get in here and I sit down and I look up and there's an old friend. Jeff serves on the HEB school board and is a tremendous community leader out in our area, and it's such a pleasure to have you here today. Everybody will please remain standing after the invocation for our pledges.
Thank you. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, in the words of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, we may make mistakes, but may we never make mistakes based upon faintness of heart nor abandonment of moral principles. I pray instead that high and holy principles and strong hearts will give rise to the decisions of these this day. Your word tells us that by wisdom a house is built, and with understanding it is established. I pray that the great house of Tarrant County and all 1.8 million members of the family will continue to be built up, established, and sustained, due in large part to the wisdom and understanding of the men and women in this room. Guide them as they lead. Bless them as they bless the people. Thank you for their service. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks, Jeff. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have several announcements for the court this morning. The first announcements are going to be under Human Resources, Item 9F2. This is the reorganizational request by the District Attorney's Office. We're going to ask that that item be held at this time. Also under Human Resources, Items F5 and 6. There is a revised court communication in your folder as it relates to these. We're also going to ask that that action on those be held until after closed. And then, finally, members of the court, I would like to remind the court and the Tarrant County family that we are not going to be having Commissioners Court next week, that our next court meeting will be 2 weeks from today. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of July the 6th.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Under proclamations and resolutions, Commissioner Brooks, I believe you have one.
I have a proclamation in honor of the 20th year of the pastorate of Reverend Ralph W. Emerson, Jr. at Rising Star Missionary Baptist Church, to be presented at a future date. I ask for its ratification.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Reverend Emerson is also a member of our Hospital District Board of Management.
A couple of other things that I would like to just make mention of. Yesterday, Marty and I were in Arlington at kind of the press release or press conference for the Back to School Roundup, in which we're going to be presenting backpacks to a bunch of elementary kids and school supplies really for kids from pre-K to through the 12th grade. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be August the 12th from 8 until noon. And one of the things that we're really trying to do is to encourage pre-registration. And you see on our screen up here the locations for our pre-registration. Pre-registration is July 16th and 17th. And really, by pre-registering, you will, the folks who are going to be at the event will have an opportunity to prevent them from having to stand in line for a long time, and really to be able to take advantage of all of the different stuff that's going to be going on that day. We have vision screenings, we have dental exams, the kids are getting free haircuts, immunizations. One of the other things that they're encouraging folks to do is to bring their immunization records with them, if they can, at that time. So it's going to be a great day, and it's hopefully a way so that everybody will be able to go to school that first day and be excited about it, be taking their school supplies, know that they're ready to go, and can really get started right for the new school year. In order to qualify, you've got to be a resident of Tarrant County. You have to qualify under the 2010 federal poverty guidelines, and then you'll have to have an ID, some sort of a form of ID there. But it's the sixth, I guess this will be the sixth year that we've done this. In the past, it's been primarily for elementary school students, but again, because each year they would see that as they brought in the elementary kids, they also had junior high and senior high children. They have expanded that this year for at least for the supplies portion of that, to include everybody. And so we're very excited about that. We had a good kickoff. Walmart and Sam's Club have been big providers, but there's been a lot of people, a lot of our corporate partners have helped us in this process. I know I saw Fidelity there, Omni, Chesapeake, many others have helped in that process. And so as you see those folks, thank them for their contribution, and as you talk with individuals, be sure and remind them and let them know this will be, the actual event itself will be on August the 12th from 8 until 2 at the Will Rogers Memorial Center. And we're excited about that. Judy, thank you all very, very much for the work that you do in that particular area. And Julie, we appreciate you too, and all of that. And I know it's going to be a great day.
I think Julie and Judy really gave a new spin to it for all of Tarrant County this year by bringing in different sponsors that we've not had before to expand it so significantly. So with everyone's support and volunteer efforts, this can be something that just continues to grow each and every year and benefit our young people. So thanks.
And the other thing, I was reminded as I got on the elevator this morning that today is the first day of our health risk assessment schedule. GK, I know you're just anxiously awaiting the conclusion of court so you can run down there and get your blood drawn.
Yes, the ambulance is standing by.
Well, Judy was actually commenting that she had, I think if you've actually had a recent blood test, you can actually take that with you and avoid the little needle draw if it really concerns you. But what I really want to do is encourage everyone to go down. Remember that the county has agreed to pay you basically $50 for going in and having the risk assessment done. We had a significant increase last year in the number of folks who went through the process, and we're hoping for an even bigger increase this year. I think it kind of started off slow today, so I really want you to, I hope you department heads, your elected officials will go back and encourage your employees to take advantage of this. We found a number of folks who came through last year who had issues, who had things that needed to be taken care of. And so not only does it help you kind of set a mark and set a goal for the upcoming year, but in some instances it can alert you to some concerns that currently exist and maybe give you that incentive to really work through that. And that's one of the things that we want to do. Again, the program started today. It's at the Downtown Plaza building. And actually I see that the last date on the schedule is July the 29th at the Resource Connection. So again, the schedule is, I'm sure, posted on our great website under probably Health Risk Assessment Schedule. Wellness. Go to the wellness area. Robin's telling me if you'll go to the wellness area, you'll be able to find this and to get the schedule. So really, I hope that everybody will take advantage and that we'll significantly increase the number. I think we had around 1,100 last year. So maybe we can hit the 2,000 mark if everybody will really encourage their employees to do that. Wilder, where are you? You need to lead the way. He's probably back there eating a donut. But he'll come sticking his head out here any minute now and and tell us that. So with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. I'll tell you what I'd like to do if it wouldn't be a problem. I'd like to pull off the item under item 9F7, which deals with our holiday schedule, and talk a little bit about our holiday schedule as we.
The motion will agree to that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 9F7. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have a public hearing. Ms. Lamb?
Thank you. I'm here to request that Commissioners Court conduct a public hearing to consider the placement of a stop sign on Crowfoot at Hicks-Avondale School Road in Precinct 3. This request came in from the Homeowners Association. The county engineer has reviewed the location and approves the installation.
I'll move for approval.
Well, we got to have a public hearing first. We'll get around to that in a minute. I'll open the public hearing at this time. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this matter? None appearing, then I will close the public hearing, and
I'll second.
Approval. Move for approval.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have three items for the court this morning. The first one, on item 1, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve changes to the medical examiner's fee schedule, which will be effective October 1, 2010.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court concur with actions of the Tarrant County Hospital District Board of Managers and approve a contract for work assigned for the rehab of the Trinity Springs Pavilion 2 Northwest renovation project.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 3, we're going to have several presenters. This concerns the PID at the resort at Eagle Mountain Lake. It's Eagle Mountain Lake Public Improvement District number 3. I'm going to ask Ms. McMillan to come up and begin the discussion.
Judge, Commissioners, you may recall last year in May, we approved the creation of Eagle Mountain Public Improvement Districts number 2 and number 3. Number 2 is the larger area, the mainland, but we're not here to talk about that today. In the future, sometime the developer will come back and we'll work on the service and assessment plans for that PID. What we're looking at today is the little island, the 27.5-acre PID on the island, which will have approximately 70 single-family lots on it. The PID, public improvement districts, are set up in order to finance various public improvements through special assessments on the property owners within that lot. So those 70 lots, when they are sold to owners, then they will have a special assessment assessed on those. The public improvements to be put forth on this PID 3 are on-site and off-site roadway improvements, and the total cost of these improvements, along with bond issuance costs, is estimated at $3.6 million. What we're here today is to have y'all accept the service and assessment plan, which lays out these costs, shows the determination of these costs, and it also shows the assessment roll. Right now, the assessment roll only includes one property owner, the developer, because those lots have not been sold yet. And we will make the service and assessment plan and assessment roll available for public viewing, and then we will call the public hearing for August 3rd. And at that time, then we will actually formally accept that and set the roll. I want to go over some of what the background on this. So we're going to have Kirk Wilson, who's representing the developer. Ross Calhoun, who's also here in the audience, is going to speak kind of the status of the development. Ross Martin from Kelly Hart will be here to talk about a little bit of the legal process and where we are in that process. And David Mednich from First Southwest is also here to talk about, address the bond issuance costs and where we are on bond issuance in the PID. So I'm going to have Kirk Wilson come up first to kind of go over just the basics of the development.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you. As we just learned, PID 3 is the island section and the bridge connects to PID 3. All of the costs that you see are costs that benefit that land area. When we take up the PID 2 discussion, we'll discuss then the improvements that benefited those land areas. Everyone that will pay the assessment over the years will have been benefited by the improvements: water, sewer, drainage, roads, and obviously the bridge that connects the islands to the mainland. What you have before you right now is preliminary. It is draft. This is the notice period that people get to review what's been turned into you as official reports. On August the 3rd, you will then be asked to vote to finalize the final numbers. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Just going to quick, now, in a PID like that, do y'all apply other taxes later on, or can y'all or the developer have the ability to actually institute a tax without coming to us first?
No, sir. The assessment that's in place now is the certified assessment. It is a fixed dollar amount. People have the option to pay it out over time or pay it off in full at any time. And at any given year when they receive their tax bill will say Tarrant County Hospital District, all of the appropriate taxes, and then the assessment, which will be the Resort Public Improvement District. It'll have a number on it, and there'll be an 800 phone number where someone could call and say, I would like to just pay my assessment off in full, and a calculation can be made instantly, and they can be told how much they have to pay. So
the assessment that's shown on the statement includes an interest amount.
Yes, sir.
If paid out over a regular time, and so if somebody wanted to pay it off early, they would get a lesser amount than what's shown on the statement.
That is correct. There's a total due, and then there's an annual payment option.
Okay.
If I'm looking at this map correctly, the bridge doesn't appear to be in either PID. Where are the costs of the bridge?
The cost of the bridge, the benefit of the bridge,
Yeah, the
is
benefit of the bridge,
accrued
who's
to
paying for it?
is accrued to the island.
The island.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We've been working on this about 4 or 5 years, I think, haven't we, boss?
Ross Martin is here
At least.
from Kelly Hart to address that, kind of the legal process of this.
Judge, Commissioners, how are you? I'm Ross Martin. I'm standing in for Dan Settle today. This is probably the second main part of the process from y'all's perspective. The first one was the creation of the PID in May of 2009. This is required by Chapter 372.016 of the PID Act, which says that we need to adopt a resolution, first of all, accepting the service and assessment plan and assessment roll only for public review. It's filed with the county tax assessor collector. We'll also follow up with the clerk so that anyone from the public can review it if they'd like, so they'll be prepared as well for the public hearing on August the 3rd. The resolution also calls the public hearing for August the 3rd, and at that time, consider the service and assessment plan, which, as they have said, sets out the way that the 70 lots will be assessed, the estimated cost that they'll be assessed per lot. Once the service and assessment plan is adopted, then we will move on to the bond issuance process, working with either a private placement or an underwriter to work on the financials for the bonds, begin the process of getting state approval of the bonds, and then once that process is reasonably complete, then we'll have the bond order for your review. That will be several months from now, but you are not obligated on any kind of debt until such time as that bond order is presented. So this is, once again, just the beginning step.
Okay.
Open any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And lastly, David Mednich to just discuss issuance costs that are included as part of the determination of costs regarding the bonds.
Judge and Commissioner, David Mednich from First Southwest. What I'd like to talk to a little bit as well is that these bonds will not be rated bonds, unlike bonds that you have, which are AAA. So there'll be a number of steps that we will go through to ensure that there are no issues with it, that the county's protected. One of the things that we'll determine is that will we have a qualified investor, which we understand that we do, but we will also research that. We'll select an underwriter, and then we'll have an underwriters council. We'll also go through a process, so there'll be a document in place that spells out specifically all the nuances and the risk associated with the transaction. And then you have an underwriters council. We'll also even do due diligence in that regard as well. All those will be, the process will start doing that going forward, and all those will be done before the county or before this transaction is done. So in the event, the unlikely event that there was ever an issue in the future of non-payment, that the county is protected and that the investor is protected, so therefore that you have no obligation, or I've been told by attorneys that you can't keep somebody from suing you, but in the event somebody did, you could win. And in this case, we'll go through this process.
So you're guaranteeing us a win?
Excuse me?
You're guaranteeing us a win?
I didn't say that, Your Honor. I'm not a lawyer.
Go back to the record and look and see if he didn't say we'd win.
Well, I changed my statement. But the whole point is we will go through a process, a due diligence process, to assure that everything and the investor is a qualified investor and the county's protected.
How large a bond issue are we talking about here?
I think it's right at $3.6 million, maybe $4 at this point. That's still yet to be determined, because some of it will be determined on what the interest rates are. And the cost of issuance that I think that you have in here those are estimates. And again, it's dependent upon, because you have a capitalized interest component, and that's based on a certain interest rate or an estimated interest rate. If that rate goes up or it goes down, that cost will go up or down as well. But all that will be brought back to you before it is approved, and so we'll have all those things locked down before it's done.
Wait a minute, got a question here.
And I don't know who this is going to go to, but it appears, is it $51,000 per lot? Is that correct, the assessment?
And that's based on the $3.6 million divided by the 70 lots. So it's about $51,442,000.
Is this based on a certain schedule that those lots will be sold in a certain period of time?
I think each lot.
And what do you sell a lot for that comes with a $51,000 assessment?
Once the lot is,
Well, yeah, I would think so, but
once the bond debt is issued, whoever owns the lot will have to pay the annual assessment. So the developer, which is us right now, will have to pay the annual payment until it's sold once the bonds are issued. When we talk about the exact number of what it's going to be, the document indicates $51,000. What we do is we estimate what we think the average home will be at the time of improvement, and we try to back into what a millage is going to be. Right now, this is our maximum assessment we can put in. When we start doing research with our builders and determining what those house values are going to be, the builder may choose to pay off a portion of the assessment prior to the sale of the home to the buyer or to the lot builder. So what we do is we back into what is reasonable. Right now, we think this is where we need to be for the average home, but everything keys off of what the annual payment is, because the tax payment out here can't be higher than what people will pay. So our millage target is 99 cents per hundred.
any idea what the value of the lot would be?
Yes.
About, a WAG number?
I don't have my calculator. $450,000 divided by 5 would be what I would say the average value of the lot is.
90,000.
Yes.
The lot would sell for 90?
That's what I would think just by looking at this chart.
Sounds cheap.
You want to?
Ross is more on the lot in sale, but just for what I'm looking at here.
Okay. When the developer executes all this and the bonds are sold, is there a period of time where they don't have any debt service, or does it start immediately, or is there
The capitalized interest.
12-month or 24-month period before that debt service starts, or is it immediate?
There's a capitalized interest amount that's in the issuance right now. That might be a year, it might be 2 years, but there will be some sort of cushion that delays the debt payment.
Okay.
Doesn't delay the debt payment, it makes the debt payment.
Okay.
If you build the bridge, I mean, this is what this is going for, is basically to build the bridge.
The bridge is part of the cost, yes.
Okay. How many, and you've not sold any of the lots yet?
That's a question for Roscoe. No.
So it's kind of a chicken or an egg. If you build the bridge, you've spent the money. If you don't sell the lots, who pays back the
Developer.
Okay.
The ferry boat guy.
Or the ferry boat guy.
The ferry boat guy that runs them back and forth. We don't build a bridge.
We're drifting. We're drifting.
Are you measuring those lots when the water's low or when the water's high, Ross? High. Good. I just wanted to. Thank you.
Commissioners, today we are asking that you simply approve the attached resolution which accepts the preliminary service and assessment plan, the proposed assessment roll, the determination of costs, and the official reports related to the financing of the public improvements within the district. It directs that these documents be filed and made available for public inspection, and it calls for a public hearing on these documents on Tuesday, August 3rd, 2010 at 10 a.m.
I will move approval of what she just said.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any further discussion?
Question, yes. This does not authorize the issuance of bonds.
No, and next week won't either. That even will have to come back again before commissioners.
All right.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Mr. Phillips, I guess you're next since you're running for the front.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve an electric services facilities extension agreement with Encore Electric Delivery Company, the new jail project that was included in the 2006 capital improvement program.
I suppose they need electricity for a jail, so I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve a professional services contract with Arthur Wyman Architects related to the removal of the Angels of Justice. The work includes field investigation, creation of bid documents, oversight and removal of the Angels, and design of the closing of the openings that will be left on the old Civil Courts Building, 100 North Houston.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Can we put in the specs for this job that we have to come out of this with at least 2 intact Angels?
We will certainly look at that, Commissioner. Thank you.
You know, and if you haven't, if that cable or if that electrical thing is going to be laid underground, then we might want to lay that before we fill that hole back in. On the jail and the electricity.
Good.
Got a lot out of that.
Have you filled that hole back in yet? You're working on it? I figured it would be. Ms. Glenn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not sure what I have left. Let's see. Item number 1, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
I guess we'll skip to item number 3. We're asking the court to approve organizational changes in the county clerk's office. As explained in your court communique, the county clerk is asking, in effect, for a swap of funding for 2 positions. The work release supervisor is currently funded out of the Records Preservation Fund. The civil records administrator is currently funded out of the general fund. The county clerk simply wants funding swap for those 2 positions. The end result will be that all positions in the recycling unit will be funded out of the general fund. There is an impact to the general fund of approximately $6,400.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 4, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for human resources. One of our service center specialists is retiring at the end of September with 400 vacation hours. This individual is an integral part of our customer service center and will be retiring right as we are gearing up for annual enrollment that begins in November. So as a result, we're asking for a waiver effective 10/1. The impact to the general fund will be approximately $8,500 excluding fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second. We did that timely. We worked on that for a long time. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And then, Judge, I believe you have asked that the holiday schedule be removed from consent.
Yes, and the question that I had about that dealt around the Christmas and New Year's holidays. I believe right now you have proposed for Christmas the 24th and the 27th.
Correct.
And then for New Year's, the 3rd.
Correct.
My question, first off, would be the possibility of, instead of going the 24th and the 27th, folks might prefer to have that day before Christmas Eve, the 23rd, off. And then on the New Year's Day, the 31st is actually the federal holiday. Banks are closed for New Year's, and so we're going to be counter to, not that that makes a whole lot of difference, but we'll be counter to everyone else from that standpoint. And so I just thought I would mention that to the court and see if they had feelings or one way or another about that. I mean, I think my preference would be to have the 23rd, just because that way I can start my Christmas shopping a day early.
Christmas and New Year's fall on what day?
So we'll take Thursday and Friday.
The first is a Saturday, Commissioner.
The first is a Saturday.
The first is a Saturday.
The 25th is a Saturday.
Right.
The 25th is a Saturday.
Yeah, so what it would be is we would take a Thursday, Friday before Christmas Day instead of taking the Monday after, and then the New Year's Day, instead of being the Monday after New Year's, it would be New Year's Eve.
That
I don't have a problem with that.
And the 31st coincides with the banks.
makes sense to me.
So
That'd be December 30th.
I think we're going to change, now,
So-
am I missing something on this?
I don't think you're missing anything. I can tell you just the feedback that at least I've gotten from my department. I've not polled, obviously, the entire county, but I think some folks might argue that the 27th, which is what we proposed, which would be the Monday after Christmas, will give those individuals who are out of town perhaps an opportunity to spend a little bit more time out of town before they have to come back for work. That would be my argument, since I have to travel out of town.
Looks like you're just going to have to
I think
ship them
employees would probably like the idea of the 31st, off instead of Monday, the Friday before, instead of the Monday after New Year's. That's not a scientific poll, that's just from
Makes sense, though.
me.
on that.
So I'll leave it to, I wanted to at least make those points and then let the court do whatever they felt was appropriate.
Well, if you did the 27th and then did the Friday, the 31st, you create a 3-day work week. And
Yeah, we'd like that.
how many people would,
Now, the one other thing to kind of keep in mind is the 31st is a payroll, which now means the payroll will be on the 30th, which means that's going to
Payroll a little less time to.
going to give payroll a little less time to get everything done. So that's something to kind of keep in mind.
I'm just wondering how many people would go ahead and just
But I think there'll be a
take
lot
the
of
week
folks
off.
will.
Oh, that's a pretty high likelihood, I would imagine, right after Christmas, just a 3-day week.
I mean,
What kind of problems that going to give us in payroll?
We're going to have a meeting on Tuesday, I'm assuming.
no, we usually don't.
I thought we did, that could that be the last meeting of the year?
If that is a payday, which I'm not sure.
It is.
It is, okay. Obviously, we have to meet the deadline sometime for Thanksgiving, which is an even shorter deadline because we're leaving here on Wednesday. It simply means departments, we have to work harder, and the departments have to work harder to make sure that they get their time entered so that we can pay. It's not something that we haven't had to do before, but I don't have a specific answer.
It's workable.
It's workable.
Haven't we been meeting that Tuesday? Just to pay
We
bills?
usually have a meeting somewhere in there, whether it would be on the 28th or the 21st to approve claims. It would be one of those. Historically, our last meeting of the year has been, well, our last full meeting has been, it would probably be around that December 7th timeframe.
Last full meeting is going to be somewhere on the week of the 15th.
So that would be the 14th.
Last year, we met between Christmas and New Year.
And then we met one just briefly for claims, you're right.
It's like a 20-minute meeting.
Right.
was a very
And that would
great
be the
meeting.
that would be the 28th.
I think there is some value, what Ms. Glenn said about people traveling over Christmas, for whatever it's worth. I mean, if Christmas is on a Saturday, people may be going out of town, so you might want to consider leaving at the 27th, but the December 31st seems to be a pretty good suggestion.
Let's stick with Friday and Monday, and then go with Friday.
That's what I hear. It's kind of what I hear. I mean, voice it up. It doesn't make.
I kind of think that 3-day work week is a bit odd.
Well, we're going to have had one in November, but I mean, I understand what you're saying. Most people, there's going to be a lot of people take off that time frame
Right,
anyway.
right.
It's not going to make a bit of difference.
It might encourage a few more to take the week off, but, I mean, obviously, that's just the time of the year that some folks will just reserve their time and take it after Christmas.
Now, that will put a lot of people in here on the 28th, 29th, and 30th to be paying their taxes.
Yeah, that's a very difficult situation for us.
What, having 3 days off, only having a 3-day week?
3 days to pay that week. That means we'll have to extend the deadline for the end of the year into January, which makes our bookkeeping really difficult.
Okay, come forward and talk to us about it again.
December is historically
And hysterically.
too, a big tax time because so many people want to get it on this year's tax return. And it's always helped us to have that. And, you know, staff obviously doesn't like working New Year's Eve, but we do have a big crowd on New Year's Eve.
So what you're saying is by us setting the 31st
That
as a
shortens our work
holiday,
week to 3 days that week, which means we're going to be, I mean, it's doable, but we'll just have to,
does that give, if we do it on the 31st and that's a holiday, does that give everybody then till the 3rd to pay their taxes?
yes. Yes, the Monday, the 3rd will be the day to pay, and we'll backdate everything into 2010 that way. Probably not, I mean, it's not a deal killer, but it is a really short work week at the end of the year. It's really
So
difficult tax.
from your department's perspective, what would your,
They would prefer to have that Monday, 3rd off.
have the Monday the 3rd off? And so leaving it as the, well, what about the 27th versus the 23rd?
I don't think that one makes as much difference to us as the last week does.
Okay.
There's been a lot of questions. Is it mandatory that we do this today, or could we postpone this
Oh, we can-
until
I
the
think we
next
can
meeting?
postpone.
And let's visit around with some of our department heads and other elected officials and get some ideas from all of them. Give them the two options, the one you laid out and the one that,
The payroll person has arrived and said if we make it the 27th, they have 1 day to process payroll.
Okay, well then, with Commissioner Johnson's recommendation of holding this for a couple of weeks, that might.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's not jump into this deal. Yeah. So everybody, so I guess what we would ask at this point in time, and we've got a lot of department heads and a lot of elected officials in here, is kind of go back and, you know, look at what impacts it's going to have on your departments, and then let's get back in and we can make that recommendation in a couple of weeks.
we'll do that. Thank you.
Can we do some sort of non-binding poll on our website of county employees as to what their preferences might be?
Our IT guy's saying yes, and I'll just throw this open as a caution.
Then different involves.
For at least some of us, some won't be able to participate because they don't use computers.
Oh, I'll participate.
You'll get your number counted?
Yes.
But I will tell you that much more important, I think, is the impact that it has on our payroll and the impact it has on our tax folks. So I don't want to diminish the value of having the poll, but I would just add that if we have the poll and it comes out one way and our two most affected departments come back and say, for this reason, we'd really prefer these dates, then we may
I would suggest we
torpedo the poll.
not put out a poll until we find out the impact it would have. And
That's a
then
good
if
idea.
it's truly an
Because there is no real big hurry in this deal.
No.
I mean, it's not like we've got
No.
to. So let's let them kind of talk about it among the departments. And just, I'm sure I'm going to forget somebody, but I think the two key departments that we're looking at here are the payroll, of which we're all very concerned, and the tax department, of which we're also all very concerned. So is there anybody else that I'm forgetting that is going to be severely impacted by what we decide on a work basis?
And Judge, we can certainly reach out to department heads and make sure that they know what options the court's considering and get their feedback.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Betsy and Renee, if y'all would compare notes, and let's make sure we're not going to do anything that's going to. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll hold and take no action on that particular item, item 9F7.
Unless not listed on consent next time.
Sure.
We can talk about it.
Ms. Brewer. Morning.
Public Health has one item for your approval. This is a contract with the National Association of County and City Health Officials, NACHO, for the provision of mobilizing for action through planning and partnership training, and this is the MAP program that they administer.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Beecham. Are you plotting something?
No, sir, but I'd just like to mention that these health assessment schedule days are great days for Renee Lamb and I, because when they prick your finger, everybody bleeds red.
Oh.
And if you're bleeding orange or purple or maroon, you probably ought to see your vet or your doctor, because you have other issues, possibly.
Your vet?
But I do have a serious comment, if I might, just for a moment. I'd like to thank you personally, and Crystal James and Carolyn, for making it out to our third annual Hot Fun, the Summertime Plus Rain, last Thursday, which is our How to Do Business with Tarrant County. We had 151 attendees. It was a true downpour to get there. Facilities management, everybody but David was there. Talked to the vendors, most of the purchasing staff, to talk about how to do business.
He was filling in a hole.
He had other commitments. But it was a great session, and again, thank you very, very, very seriously for that. We all recognize that everybody has a lot of evening meetings, and it was to get there in the rainstorm was truly an effort. We will plan it again for Resource Connection next year, but we've gotten good comments. But again, sincerely, thank you.
They serve good food, too.
We do have two business items this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for our bid number 2010-075. This is for the purchase of furniture for the Northwest Annex expansion. Recommendation is to award on a per enterprise basis, awarding low bid per vendor for sections 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7, as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item is also, well, it's not a bid award recommendation. It's an item in regards to our bid number 2010-077. This is an annual contract for medical examiner supplies. We are recommending rejection of all bids and seeking permission to rebid this particular bid with revised specifications.
For what reason?
The bids that we received, of which there were numerous, the unit prices, they were just, it would take us several months to evaluate it. We need to clarify the packages and the units of measure that we asked for. Probably one of the worst ones I've seen in many years. I don't honestly think we could actually bring a recommendation to the court. It's that much of a train wreck. They didn't pay attention to the case packages. We need to go back and simplify it a little bit. People bid just all over the board. It's truly a mess.
Wow.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Ms. Lamb.
Thank you. I'm here today to request that Commissioners Court approve the conveyance of a permanent water line easement and a temporary construction easement to the Trinity River Authority at the Northeast Maintenance Facility on Precinct Line Road. It's for the purpose of laying and installing a 30-inch water line. We also ask that court accept the appraised value of $50,200 for the easement and also authorize the right-of-way agent to sign the closing papers.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Any appointments today? None. And we'll move on to the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Mayes?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one item to bring to you. This is item B, which will be an update on our capital improvement program. Mr. Phillips is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning. I would like to update you on the progress of the 2006 capital improvement program. First, the jail. The site excavation work is complete, and the 138 concrete piers should be completely drilled and filled by next week. The basement underground slab plumbing and electrical rough-in work is in progress and should complete the second week in August. The foundation wall and foundation floor drainage system work is in progress. Pouring of the basement concrete floor slab should begin this month. With no unexpected weather delays, the basement concrete floor, the concrete walls, the concrete columns going up to grade should all be complete in early September.
Have we gotten everybody to kind of be on the same page as to who's watching this stuff in the future?
Yes, Judge. We do have a plan in place specific for this particular project. We do have a 25-point checklist on the upcoming trade work, and Gilbane now has their full-time quality manager in place, which they are contracted to do. On to the medical examiner's office. The main building concrete piers are just about complete. The metal pan forms for the first floor elevated structure, the first floor, are being set in place now, and the first section of the pours should begin end of this week if everything goes well. The main building work is actually going pretty well fine. The connector building, we do have a little opportunity with that. That's the building that connects the old building with the new building we're building. To perform the concrete, the foundation work for the connector building, we knew that we had to address an existing 3-inch water line and a 6-inch fire protection line that served the existing medical examiner's office. We knew they were there because they were there on the as-built drawings, 1980 drawings, and however, those drawings were not dimensioned, so we couldn't tell exactly where they were and how deep they were. But we know where they're at now.
We know where they were at because we broke the lines?
We nicked one. We nicked one, and it didn't get them out of service too long. We're going to have to reroute those lines, and they're going to have to be buried 7 feet and rerouted to miss all the foundation work. That work will be complete in 2 weeks. Our exposure is somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000. And to mitigate any potential time extension for the project, Thomas S. Byrne is rearranging some of their activities on the main building to see if they can pick up some time. I won't know our full exposure probably till November, till after they get some of the floors poured, and we kind of take a snapshot and see where we're at. Moving on to the civil courts building, the design is progressing nicely. The locations of all the main components of the floors are set in place, such as the stairs, the public elevators, the public areas, the major vertical penetrations such as the air conditioning duct, chases, and such of that nature. On the court floors, the actual courtrooms are set in stone as far as where they lay out on the floor. We're in good shape there. With regard to the court office areas or the back of the house areas, I would consider we're in one last what I would call critical inquiry of the back of the house office areas for the judges and chambers and offices for the court coordinator and those sorts of things. All the district judges have not drank all the Kool-Aid yet, and we just need to do one or two more plan reviews for that. I have a meeting with the district judges and David Evans this week to meet with all those judges. I've asked the architects to provide us a couple of extra optional floor plans to give them some more flexibility with where they locate their court coordinators' offices and other things that some of those judges recommended. Very good ideas they came up with. They are certainly on point on this project, and we'll have this wrapped up by the end of the week.
But we're locked into the size of the floor plates. We're locked into the sizes of the courtrooms. So that doesn't give us a whole bunch of wiggle room back of the house.
Yes, Commissioner, that's correct. This has to do with where they put the blocks of space regarding the coordinators and the chambers and some of the work areas. And where we put some of the staff elevators, I made a suggestion we split the staff elevators on either side of the building like we have at the family law. It gives us a higher level of security, and it makes the security blocks a little smaller with regard to how we provide security for those judges and the staff. So we'll get it worked through and have it wrapped up this week.
So primarily up until this point, your focus on the interior part has been with regards to the courtroom and the public areas?
Yes, sir.
And so y'all are just now really kind of beginning to address the chambers and I guess they're suites, they're the judicial suites and staff that go along with each judge.
Yes, Judge. They want to make it a little bit more staff efficient. And they like the idea of, in the Justice Center, the Tim Curry building, a couple of courts have their coordinators across the hall from each other in those middle internal courtrooms, and they like that, and it works well for them. However, on the plan that we presented to you a couple of weeks ago has those coordinators on either end, kind of like they have in the Tim Curry building when we have coordinators on the perimeter walls as well. It doesn't work as well. They just asked if there's a way to get those coordinators closer together.
Because as I recall in the diagrams that we've seen thus far, each suite has kind of built within that the judge, the coordinator, the bailiff, and the court reporter, and then maybe an intern or whatever that they may have. So what I hear you saying is it's going to be more along the lines of where there's a big hallway.
They would like to have a hallway to be more collegial between them. However, we do have the security issue we have to address, and the architects have done that on the plan I saw yesterday. As long as we address those security measures and they can be more collegial, I'm certainly good with it. And they've certainly made some good suggestions regarding staff efficiency.
Good.
And that's all I have today.
Any questions?
Thank you,
David.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
Commissioners Court will now recess open session and move and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 5.5. Return from closed session. And Jim Duff being ready, we will now...
Your Honor, we have two items we need to bring to the court. They're both on human resources. Ms. Glenn is here to address the court at this time.
We have two items for the court. The first item is F5. We're asking the court to approve Amendment Number 6 and Attachment F to the HealthSmart Preferred Care 2 LP agreement. This agreement outlines network services and medical services provisions for the EPO and PPO plan. The agreement is effective 1/1 of this year, 2010. We have a 3-year rate guarantee on the rates, and it has been reviewed by legal counsel.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our final item is item 6. We're asking the court to approve amendment number 3 and attachments C, and it actually should read E and not F, to the
Amendment number 5.
approval of amendment number 5 and attachments C and E to the agreement with HealthSmart Benefit Solutions, Inc. This is our TPA agreement. It outlines the vision plan as well as the other services addressed in your communique. This is effective 1/1/2010, and it has been reviewed by legal counsel.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
There being no further business, we stand adjourned.
We didn't set any records today.
No.
It's E, not F.